live, shall we? Let's bring him in. Mr. Tom Morris, Mr. Garfield, Mr. Farnham. I just have to bring Dean in. Hello, everybody. Get settled, enjoy yourself, hang out. Let me just, yeah, I think he's on his way. So one thing I've noticed, by the way, with respect to Zoom is it keeps on saying to me now, the host has spotlighted your video or something like that. And so I guess I realize what's happening right now, which is I don't see myself popping on the screen, which sometimes makes me think that I...
Are you in speaker view or gallery view, first of all?
No, you know what I think? Hello. I think what I've actually realized is it's a new setting on Zoom. So now I'm just getting comfortable, because normally when I talk, what happens is I see myself on the bigger view, right?
Right.
And so now by not seeing it, I'm thinking, is my mic muted or is something not right? But it is. So so we're just going to wait for Dean to join us, and hopefully I didn't scare him off. He was on the StreamYard, and then I said, come on over, and then he just disappeared. But we'll wait for him. How's everybody doing today?
Good. Great show. I mean, most philosophical show ever.
I mean,
well, I don't know about that.
Well, look, my notes, I had to go crazy. I had to use extra colors today because I just got so excited. So.
Well, don't ruin the surprise from, don't ruin the surprise.
Business to human.
You love
right?
that.
Business to
Oh
human.
yeah, I always say that, and that was great to hear him say that.
Yeah, yeah. Your ideas are catching on then. Viral. Steve's gone viral. No, and as soon as I heard that B to H, I thought, well, but then deep down it's H to H, and if we ever forget that, things are going to go bad.
Well, you know what else has been? I think Brian Kramer has also been doing stuff with. I think he calls it H to. I think he calls it H to H. So you know,
it's hard to keep your ideas to yourself. You know.
I'm just going to email him quickly.
Yeah, bring him back.
I
Don't
want
let him get away that easily.
We're not done with him yet.
Yeah, we're not done with him. He hasn't hit the ringer yet.
I was interested in. Go ahead, Joseph.
No, I was going to say he had a whole GoPro set up, and he ended up just using his Android, which was even better. So I just emailed him now. Sorry, who was talking? Oh, they're human to human. Let's see, Mr. Garfield.
Ah, wow! Look at
there
that.
It is.
Ahead of the curve. Yeah, there you go.
Who's that? Is that
Brian Kramer?
Oh, Brian Kramer. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Wow. What do you know?
Let's see. How do you?
It's catching on. It's catching on.
Oh. He says there is no B to B or B to C. It's human to human. That's his thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Good. Good for him.
We
think we're so original.
Listen. We all have derivations from it. I always say, you know, with join the conversation, I say, look, I created the term, the phrase, like back in 2007. I mean, I wrote a book on it. Now, I know full well that I have no clue whether, in fact, I did or didn't, but no one has disputed it. So screw everybody.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, everything, as you know this probably more than anyone, Tom, like everything is a derivative of something that probably came before it, right?
Yeah, that's right. We're always stitching together fabrics that existed before us. You know, it's the quilt of the mind that we're all making now.
So I was curious to ask him about their Shell's transition from a fossil fuel business to an energy business, and I was obviously interested in.
Yeah, you should kick it off if we can find him. I have emailed him twice, and
And Bob, that's an illustration of one of the points he made about the brand transcending the particular products, you know. And we see those that illustrations like that in business books all the time. If the train companies had just realized they're in the transportation business rather than the train, that kind of thing, you know. It was awesome to me. Transcend and semiotics in the same show, you know.
I saw that, and
getting highbrow.
But I mean, he was like in that first, like, I mean, I think he out soliloquied me today. If truth be told, he said, "You're not as inferior as you think you are. The heart leads the mind to, you know, incredible places or to move something." He said, "Always, the whole idea of always take it personally, especially if you are personally invested." Mm-hmm. And then he followed that up with this idea of it's impossible to be world class in something that you don't love.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, whoa, and that was just one response.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy moly.
It was an endless string of pearls. This was a string of pearls that wouldn't stop. You know, moments of kindness, the small steps, the karma, the personal purpose melding with organizational purpose. I mean, just the insights wouldn't stop today.
But I also thought of that.
The sharing of his life and the sharing of his family's life was very impressive, that he opened up his heart to the public.
And that was very different, right? Most people keep a shield of some sort up. And
well, it's not like we've ever met this guy before, right? And to think that he's in the position that he is, he's not in Switzerland or Austria or wherever it is for no reason, right?
Right.
He got there because he's a smart guy with empathy, clearly, and communication skills that are pretty highly tuned, it seemed. I mean, you wouldn't, not that that's a bad thing. The fact that he's, like he said, he takes things very seriously.
Oh, I've got good news for you. I've been able to track down
there he is,
Aragon. He was on his way to take out Sauron, and
you know, he's sick of that, right?
He survived, right?
He's a superhero. So
hey, there he is. Welcome. We're singing your praises, so it was probably appropriate for your humility that you didn't hear all this in the past 5 minutes.
Hey, hi, Tom.
Wow.
Dean, it was the most philosophical show. As a philosopher myself, I was so pleased from the heart. The Jesuits did a very good job with you, my friend. And, I gave a talk to a Royal Dutch Shell executive leadership team probably 20, 25 years ago, based on my book, If Aristotle Ran General Motors. We were talking about truth and beauty and goodness and unity. And one of the senior guys came up to me and said, "We never talk about stuff like that. This is new stuff." He said, "Philosophy, it strikes me as so important. We've got to move in that direction at Shell." And now to see a person like you 2 decades later, speaking like a true philosopher yourself, I mean, I may have made no difference whatsoever, but I'll take the assist, and what you had to say about superheroes, a book project I did with my son on superheroes and philosophy. We got some of the best writers of the comic books together with some of the best philosophers in the world to analyze what it is that makes a hero, what it is that makes a superhero, and why the humanity of these stories continues to inspire us all from the late 1930s on, and how it captures aspects of world mythology. So thank you for getting my brain going in all those directions too.
No, I agree with you. I think philosophy needs to be revived in schools. The Jesuits made sure, and I think I had like 30 units of philosophy. So, because it stimulates the thinking, and the Jesuits were the rebels amongst the Catholic orders, because they were always provoking you to think about social justice, right? So
that's right.
And sometimes it goes overboard. Like they went really, really super rebellious in Latin America with liberation theology, and it had some violence attached to it. But that was because of you cannot talk about love and faithfulness and spirituality if you're not actually also helping the person next to you.
Absolutely. And when you bring that philosophy done that way, becomes an alchemy that you bring to everything else you do. And now I'm so excited, the changes that the Business Roundtable announced a year ago, and the changes I'm hearing from so many C-suite officers across industries, it gives me really hope that people are bringing new concerns about purpose, about the genuine humanness of their colleagues, about getting people excited to change the world in positive ways. And so you just really today inspired me with everything you said. I always take notes, but I never get so excited that I have to underline almost everything as I did today. So I posted this on Facebook already, and it was a wonderful session.
As we say in the Philippines, maraming salamat po. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
All right, so Mr. Farnham, I know that you are chomping at the bit to ask a question of Dean. So you know, this is yeah, go for it. I don't even need to set you up.
So Dean, what a great show. I really appreciate the time that you spent with us, because like Joseph said, so many nuggets of information and knowledge, just amazing. And it sparked a question in me about Shell's transition from the fossil fuel business into the next business that it's going to be in. And I know that Shell has put a great deal of effort and work into renewables, and there's been a lot of effort here in the States in that arena, as well as other areas around the world. I'm curious. It's part of selling the future is having people sort of be able to understand that it's going to be different, and people struggle with change all the time. And I'm just curious, from the marketing standpoint, how does a fossil fuel company switch to a renewable energy source company? And how do you bring your, I'll call them the audience, but your customers along with you as you're doing that? It seems like it's building an airplane that you're already flying and putting pieces on and fixing it, and just seems very, very complex. And I'm just curious where that fits for you guys.
Yeah, well, thank you for the question. I think the first thing is that we're trying to shift into a net zero emissions energy business by 2050 or sooner. That's our ambition, right? Because we need to embrace that the energy transition is necessary for us to keep on enjoying the benefits of energy and enabling progress. But that requires for us to really change and transform our portfolio over time, and smartly, steadily, because you can't just switch it on, so to speak. But from a marketing standpoint, and where I have more credibility to speak about, it's really about making sure that people are able to engage with the topic more effectively. I don't think anyone wakes up each morning thinking, "Gee, I wonder where my energy is going to come from." Right? So I think there's, in general, a lack of connection to their daily lives, and therefore, one of the things I'm going to talk about, for instance, is the campaign that we did, for instance, last year in the US, which is the Great Travel Hack. We had Kaylee Cuoco as sort of the game master, and it was a competition where two teams were supposed to move from Malibu to New York. But it wasn't about who gets there the fastest, but about who gets there the cleanest. And it was just a very clever way of featuring different cars, different energy types, different fuel types, because by doing so, you were able to entertain people, and without them realizing it, they were getting educated. They were getting to be made more aware of the options. You can't really get yourself into a mode where I'm going to consider options if you're not even aware, and you're certainly not going to engage with it if you're just being told. I've learned early in my career that effective communications, effective marketing, isn't about message transfer or message conveyance. It's about stimulating responses. And that's why I really love this whole thing about, I learned at JWT in the late 80s, this whole notion that a comedian never says, "I'm funny." I'm sure you have many stand-up comedian people you admire, and I have certainly so many, and I've never heard of any one of them say on stage, "Hey guys, I'm funny." So what does a real good comedian do, right? A very good comedian cracks a joke, killer punchline, people laugh, and if you could read their thought bubble, it reads, he or she is very funny. But how many of us are so guilty of saying I'm funny, or whatever is the equivalent of that in business? I'm this country's #1 brand. I am the most innovative. Or even in life, how many people do you hear themselves say, I'm fashionable? Immediately when they say that, they're not, because it's far more effective if someone else says that about you. And so I've always been intrigued that what is true, why is it that what's true in life we pretend is suddenly not true in business or in marketing? Mm-hmm. How does that compute? The answer is because it's incorrect. And therefore, if it isn't true in life, if it doesn't feel right in normal life, in real life, it probably shouldn't feel normal or correct in business as well. But we somehow game it, and that's what I don't get.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, you were so vulnerable earlier, and I'll do the same. Which is one of the things I struggle with sometimes is, and I think the answer is insecurity. Is to be able to say, even I did it today, for example. I said in my book when I wrote Join the Conversation. Now I'm checking myself, thinking, why am I referencing the fact that I wrote a book or the book that I wrote? Is it because I want to demonstrate how smart I am, or that I wrote books, or therefore that I have self-worth? Or, is it because, I mean, I know genuinely I want to be able to reference something, but it's a struggle. And I think the answer is insecurity. So the essence is, what you didn't complete, Dean, is this idea of, don't tell me you're funny, be funny. Don't tell me you're smart.
Yeah, trigger
be
the
smart.
reaction.
Yeah.
Right, and that's your point, right? Reaction. It's execution. It's demonstrate your worth through your self-worth and through your actions. When Jan asked the question, I wish he was on today. Maybe he'll join us as well. I thought, because he was so excited to hear you, and he asked everybody what their definition of brand was, and the person that came just before me is Jeff Cottrell, who ran brand for Converse, Coke, Starbucks, and he said it's about the promises that you make. It's about being able to make a promise to someone, and then I said, and keep the promises.
Absolutely. I mean, it's an equation, right? So it's promise minus fulfillment equals reputation, right? Fulfillment minus promise equals reputation. If your fulfillment is greater than your promise, you'll have a positive reputation. But if your fulfillment is less than the promise, then you'll probably have a negative reputation. And I think that it's, by the way, it's also true in life, right? I mean, you don't want to be the most promising person, but never fulfills them, to your point. I can't keep on promising to be a great friend. I should be a
promise
great
and over deliver. Yeah. I mean, but I think the word is the word is, and it comes down to that, is why are brands so full of hot air? Why are brands so full of the promises? Because everyone has said a brand is a promise, but it isn't actually. I think maybe we need to all come together and it is the ability to be good on a repeatable basis, or come good, or make good. It's the repeatable stuff. And we've always known that, right, Dean? That the essence of brand is consistency. You go into a McDonald's in Moscow versus, versus Minnesota versus, I can't think of anything with an M, versus Mexico City. There you go. I'm brain fried.
Consistency is actually the consistency of quality was actually the genesis of modern branding. So, for instance, one of the pioneers of modern branding was Lord Lever, right? Who founded the Lever Brothers. Because in the Victorian age, he saw, for instance, soap. They were basically bars of soap, and they were cut into portions, unbranded. And by creating one of the first soap brands, Sunlight, he wanted to give the Victorians, Victorian English, something consistently of good quality. And that mark, that brand, was the symbol of that promise, the promise of consistently good quality. And of course, eventually it became the Village, Port Sunlight in Liverpool, which, by the way, that's the other thing about original brands founders. Many of the original brands founders, many of the genesis of businesses were always about multiple stakeholders, especially their own staff. It was never only about a singular stakeholder. And for me, reconnecting, you said something earlier in the show about reconnecting with the origins of a company is always good, because what was it about in the beginning, and how much of that can still be channeled, but of course translated into the modern implications.
Yeah, that's good.
It's very humbling when you look at it that way.
Yeah.
It's a lovely aspect, right? On one hand, going back to the beginning, especially if you've lost your way. But on the other, it's about evolution. And this came up, I think, even earlier this week. On one hand, the pivot, the becoming, the transformation, the journey that Shell is on, and fortunately for them, they have you at the wheel. But then there's also the ability to redefine what is to be a brand. And I love this idea of, to move from consistent product to repeatable acts of kindness and goodness, and servant leadership, and conscious capitalism. This is where it's all heading. And all I'm doing is, in a way, synthesizing 125 interviews for you in 30 seconds. But that's what seems to be, can you guys think of one case where someone has actually come up with a counterbalance or counterpoint or disagreed with it? No one is disagreeing with that.
No.
It's a thesis that seems to be a working one.
And
well, the good thing is, sorry, Tom, go ahead.
I was just going to say, one of my guiding lights here is Aristotle's Politics. And I bring this book up often on the after show, because he doesn't put it in these words, but Aristotle has a formula for excellence, which as you read the book, you realize it's people in partnership for a shared purpose.
Yeah, I love that.
Partnership for a shared purpose. And if the shared purpose is noble, and that's the thing about going back to the origins of a business, the origins of a brand. What I love about that is often a brand got started because it provided something inspirational. It provided something really nice, really good, really useful for people. And if you bring people back to that founding vision, to that original inspiration, they can become inspired again. So many origin stories. Well, we were talking about the superheroes. That's true of the superheroes as well, right? Origin stories bring inspiration. And so when in business we go back to origin stories, we find purpose. And Joseph's right. We haven't had a single guest, and I was a guest a couple months ago, and I keep hanging around. But we haven't had a single guest since then who said, no, this stuff about purpose and mission and conscious capitalism, it's all buzzwords. It's all temporary. It's a fad. It'll go away. We got to get back to the money. Nobody said that, because we kind of realize, and it's suddenly just cropping up, that capitalism is evolving. Our sense of business is evolving to become the deep thing it should have been at the very start. We've made the point on this show before that Adam Smith, before he wrote The Wealth of Nations, wrote a treatise on virtue. He sort of brought that to his writing about what business should be like. And I love the rediscovery of all that in our time. It's an exciting time to be alive as we rediscover the alchemy of being genuinely human in whatever we do in business.
Today we're very lucky, because today we got philosophy and branding masterclasses from our two resident scholars, Mr. Morris and Mr. Aragon. But I really love this conversation. And I was thinking, first of all, real key takeaway here, and I've made a note of it, is that every brand needs an origin story, but thinking of it from a superhero standpoint, because we all understand, that in superhero terms. Yeah. That's point one. Point two, we've been talking about superpowers on the show since almost episode one. kindness, generosity, empathy, patience, resilience, endurance. And that's another beautiful aspect. 3, we've always, I think, recognized that the power, the dynamic team is not a static team. It is not a team that is the same team it's the Hollywood model. And corporations have struggled with it with full-time employees. Brands have struggled with it with even agencies of record trying to find out new, possibilities by going within holding companies. I'm getting a little too technical and geeky for some of the non-marketing people. But the reality is a Hollywood, director, when, if you're Tim Burton and you're making a movie that's all weird and out there, you're going to Johnny Depp, you're going to, Helena Bonham Carter, you're going to your A-team of actors, of makeup, artists, of special effects people, because they can deliver for the project at hand. And so this idea of superheroes, superpowers, origin stories, there's something very, very beautiful and powerful. And the thing that I want to leave you guys with from my perspective is that slide I showed, Dean, the evolution of the Shell brand, or at least the logo. It would be, every brand is going to need to have one of those for their brand, if you know what I mean. Yeah. We're going to need to see, there may be subtle differences, but we should be able to bring to life from day one, Lord Lever all the way to present day. And I think you guys all saw that with AC from Unilever. I said to her, you're not a CPG company, you're an activism company, because with everything you're doing. So this is tremendous stuff. I'm just, apologize for all my verbal diarrhea. I try not to talk this much in an after show, but
it's your
Dean,
show, mate.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're bringing this out of me. But Dean, let me give you, we always try and be diligent about stopping after 30 minutes at the after show. You've been with me for almost, my goodness, 2 hours. Dean, you are welcome back any and every day, just like Tom. The after show is as good as this, every day. We get philosophical, we discuss stuff, and it's intimate. And I just want you to know that you are our most welcome guest on an ongoing basis.
Thank you. Life's too short not to discover new friends, and I've made 3 new friends today. Thank you.
You made 4 good friends.
4. Steven. Sorry, Steven. I didn't see you.
Yeah,
Steven.
Yeah.
And Garfield in the background, and I know Jan and Joey, who are regulars, send their best. So Dean,
all the people that watch this after the fact, right?
Yeah.
All the people who watch it after the fact.
Of course.
I should have looked at the different view of my Zoom. I can't figure this out. But guys, it was a pleasure. Thank you for indulging me. And I hope to bump into you one of these days when we can